Hello everyone, welcome to Questions Worth Pondering, where we pose questions related to current and historical events. I'm your host Nevs. Please be sure to give this video a like or a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I would really appreciate it and it would help with getting the video out there to more people. Follow me on social media and support my work. All my links are at linktree/NevsTV. If you're joining on Rumble, a Rumble rant would be greatly appreciated, and I want to sincerely thank everyone who has supported my work so far. Now, let's get the show on the road, shall we?
There are many people in the world who really don't understand. Freedom has many difficulties, but we have never had to put a wall up to keep our people in. Freedom is indivisible. And when one man is enslaved, all are not free.
Modern war has become a struggle for men's minds as well as for their bodies. Today we face an enemy who spends enormous sums of money and manpower all over the globe in an attempt to subvert the thinking of the people of the free world, to confuse, divide, and ultimately to subjugate.
It is a contest unlike any we have ever faced in our history as a nation.
Contest for the minds and hearts of people around the world, all people.
When power corrupts, poetry cleanses. We must never forget that art is not a form of propaganda. It is a form of truth.
Psychologists find that control of emotion can be gained by understanding the stimulus-response pattern. Many everyday things become associated with these primary stimuli, partly by a process called conditioning.
It's a strange, shadowy world. The doctored photograph, the misquotation, the insinuation, and the lie.
I think of fire in connection with emotion. Cause, effect.
You've got to get a hold of yourself.
We have to work together. You have to help.
We'll light our country and all who serve it. And the glow from that fire can truly light the world.
Yes, in modern warfare, our military leaders are finding that words and ideas are highly effective weapons.
Ooh.
What an entrance. Wow.
What a video is that, huh?
Wow.
Welcome everybody to Questions Worth Pondering. We've got a special co-host tonight, Missy. How are you, Missy?
Hey, everybody. Having a great, crazy day in Tennessee, but we're good.
Are you safe because you've been having tornado warnings, right?
Yes, we had tornado warnings almost all night last night, the night before, and then today, this afternoon, we had a couple, and they broke down before they got further east towards our kids too. So everybody's safe as far as we know.
Oh, well, that's good. I'm so
Yes.
glad you're safe.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for joining me tonight. I actually invited Missy because she put out the idea for this show. And you actually put out an idea for a different one too. So I was trying to figure out which one we were going to do tonight.
Yeah.
But our big question of worth pondering today is DEI dead? I almost said DIE, but DEI is DIE. So
yeah, DEI needs to DIE for sure.
yeah, and I forgot to create an agenda for tonight, but we have 4 segments we're going to be covering. First, we're going to talk about DEI in the industries, like what industries is it in, and how did it suddenly become widespread, right? Our second segment will be talking about transgender specifically and medications with transgender, and how does that impact like your mental health and your physical health, because that will be a segue into our main topic, which will be the third segment on military and commercial airlines. So we're going to talk about quality assurance around that and whether DEI impacts that, what pilots have said, and how they have felt like they were impacted. And then we're going to end it with what's happening today, like what's being tackled and what are some of the wins so far.
Yes.
And well, we'll also talk about the shenanigans currently happening too, but we're going to end the show with some memes, just because that's how we roll.
That's
so
right. That's right. That's right. We are the meme makers.
Yeah. So it's kind of like going through the history and then like ending on what's good.
Yeah.
I think I might have a little announcement at the end too. I have some good news I want to share. I've been waiting to share it with everybody, and I think I'll share it at the end of the show.
Awesome.
So maybe that's how we'll close out the show, with a little
Tuned.
Stay tuned. What does that mean, right?
Win,
all right.
Win all night.
Well, let's talk about DEI. So I feel like it's just hit into every single industry. What industries have you noticed, Missy, that DIA has been prominent in?
Well, what's very interesting is this afternoon I spoke to a family member, a younger family member, and I told her, what we were doing this evening, and she was excited and talking about it. And she said, well, forgive me, I don't know what DEI means.
Really?
Right. But because here's the thing is she's got a family, a young family, they're busy, Now, when I told her diversity, equity, inclusion, she's like, oh, that.
Oh, okay. As soon as you spell out the acronym. And me, exactly. I'm like a stickler with acronyms. Just ask Carrie, like acronyms drive me nuts because people use them all the time. And I'm like, I don't know what that is.
Yeah. So I'm just going to assume that people probably in her age range, upper 20s to mid 30s, if they are busy doing life and living life, they probably might not be caught up in all of the stuff. They might see it and in the various places. And I know that they have seen it. They live in California, and, they see it in grocery stores and schools and just about everywhere, Nevs. Just about everywhere, especially politics now. I mean,
and corporations. So one of the things that, so diversity, equity, and inclusion, a lot of companies, and even in politics, like in agencies, they put in these departments to push for diversity, equity, inclusion. It sounds nice.
Right.
But as President Trump has said in the past, it's actually unconstitutional. When you choose to put forward one group ahead of another group, it's actually illegal. Like if you're trying to say marginalized groups, well, if somebody's a minority, let's just say, And let's say it's the Chinese community. So I'll just pick any community.
Sure.
Maybe they're 5% of the population. That doesn't mean you should have 50% of your people be Chinese in your company, but that's what they were doing.
Sure.
You know? And it's,
their diversity wasn't exactly diverse anyway. It was diverse under their own guidelines of who they called diverse.
Right. It was, if it was race and it was gender.
Right. It was divisional, but it was.
Sexual orientation
should not have a play in your getting hired anywhere.
Right. And anyway, so we are just so some of the industries, you know, that are big that we're actually going to talk about today were the airlines implemented hiring practices around diversity. So did the government, of course, and in the military. But we saw, and I'm not going to pull up any clips because we've all seen this, where you saw like Dylan
Mulvaney.
Yes, for Bud Light, and Bud Light put out, and I think the way that they really got the big push into the big corporations was through the ESG and the company social credit scoring that they were doing. That's the environmental. So here's another acronym, right? Environmental and social governance. And, you know, these companies would get rated, and based on their rating, the banks would loan to them or not loan to them, or prevent them from having getting the money that they need if they didn't put forth these policies. So,
well, speaking of China, I mean, that's a direct Chinese infiltration into America, into America's culture, into America's banking. I mean, even our own president got debanked. But, you know, because
I don't know if China has anything to do with debanking, do they?
No, the ESG.
Oh,
of your social.
Oh, I think that's just censorship, period.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, it's been going on in China for.
But that's a topic for another show. We'll stick to DEI tonight.
Crazy.
Yeah, for sure. And so I have, I think, so you found this interview with this gal who's a pilot who was on Tucker Carlson. Mm-hmm. And she talked about the airline industry and how it's included in the airline industry. Maybe we should kick it off with that little 17-second clip that you had. Perfect. Yeah, she tells us, you know, how, well, let's just listen, then we'll talk about it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It might not be as dramatic as somebody not wanting to fly with somebody, but one very real piece is you can be called in the office and get in trouble for, say, misgendering somebody, using the wrong pronoun. Actually, yes. Unfortunately.
So that was big in companies.
Mm-hmm.
And wasn't there like a city government, was it New York City or something, where you could literally, like, it was against the law to misgender somebody? Something like that?
It's been wild. I think it's more than just New York City. I think there's been other cities too
that implemented laws, though?
Oh, I don't know. Did it actually become a law?
I don't know. Somebody tell me in chat if you recall that, because let's just say, let's see what 50 Cube says. Yes, it's in the universities too, Carrie. That's right.
Absolutely.
That is right. 50 Cube says, I can say DEI is not done yet, at least not in the private sector. They continue to program internally, but are not making any public comments because of the bad publicity surrounding it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think it's everywhere. I think you're right on that. There was, before I left my last company, there was talks of potentially getting a diversity person in, but I know it's widespread in academia. It's widespread in some of those bigger corporations. As a matter of fact, I'm going to share my screen because there is this website called Impactivize. Anyway, they were tracking DEI employers of the day, and look at this list of companies that did. I'm actually going to make this bigger so you guys can see really good. We've got 7-Eleven, Abercrombie and Fitch, Adidas, Adobe, Advance, AIG, Alaska Airlines, Albertsons. I don't need to name them all, but some of these are big, like American Express and Apple.
Amgen, a lot of people don't realize Amgen is a place where pharmaceuticals are created. That actually was big where I grew up in California.
Yeah, AstraZeneca is that too. And then we've got AT&T. And Ben and Jerry's, seriously? Best Buy? I mean, some of these you just wonder. And some of these are like...
sure Walmart's on there too, because the Walmart, who was it? The lady that, I guess it's the granddaughter of Sam Walton, has inherited stuff, and she is all over this.
I'll check and see, but like Coke, we remember Coke, like Coke went woke. The signs that we had. Yes. Costco surprises me. Actually, Walmart pretty much surprises me too. CVS doesn't, but look at all these. But let me go down fast and let's see if Walmart's on this list. They are not.
Walgreens. Mm-hmm. That's interesting because even here in Tennessee, that's one of the first things that my husband and I noticed when we were shopping. There's definitely a person at our local Walmart wanting to be somebody they're not, and they're checking people out literally at the cash register. They're a cashier, put it that way. So,
Carrie, oh no, Chewy too. I know, I have a dog and a cat, and I order my cat's litter through Chewy because I can consistently get it because I get a special litter. I don't get regular litter.
Yeah. Yep.
Hey. So interesting. Yeah, that is interesting. Inspector. So yeah, they're not giving up. That's right. They're not giving up. Anyway, I just wanted to show that really quick. Also in the, I think this clip is from you as well, Missy. It's in like the legal industry as well. Public defenders. So we have this very woke, very crazy representative in Congress. She has been in the news a lot lately. Yeah. And I just I don't know about her. But anyway, let's listen to her because she became a public defender, and let's hear what she has to say about that.
Hired me. He said, why? I said, because I'm black. Charlie looked at me like I was crazy. Because you've been gracious.
I got to pause that. I don't know if you guys heard the beginning, but at the very beginning, she says how she was saying, you should hire me. Then he asked why, and she says, because I'm black. So let's watch.
Because you've been gracious. Is this. When I first became a public defender, I had no criminal defense experience. And I walked in and I told my boss, Charlie, I said, listen, you should hire me. He said, why? I said, because I'm black. Charlie looked at me like I was crazy.
Yeah, because you are. You should be hired because of the color of your skin.
But he still became her boss, which means he still hired her. So.
There you go.
Yeah. You're asking how it suddenly became widespread, and I think what you kind of hit on it with Dylan Mulvaney, whatever that person's name is, Hollywood, and getting into also the, even with critical race theory and all that, I think that was a huge launching point for all of this, was the way that everybody was trying to bring on something so different than what the normal is. Everybody wants their place in the sun. And these people are thinking that they have their 15 minutes of fame, their place in the sun, whatever. But I think Hollywood and the educational system across America has been a huge proponent, sadly, especially with the education system, of getting this launched into our daily lives.
Yeah, you're right. Hollywood has been a big proponent. I'm not sure if it was the impetus of everything, but I do remember, if I'm looking back, if you think about Bruce Jenner, he was the very first, and he's conservative, but he was the very first transgender, and there really wasn't a big push for the trans stuff until he came out. And I'm going to say he because
he's a man.
That's right. But I think the push for DEI, although that I think fed into it, that's when I saw all the trans stuff start, like, oh, he can do this, so that's making us all brave and we can all come out, and then suddenly they want to have drag queens with kids. That's not like DEI, but that's still very much related. We did a show on this in the past, and it's crazy. But I have some stuff I'm going to pull up. I don't think it's in this segment, about Obama during his administration and some things that he did that I feel like made this grow exponentially. I think it all started with Obama, and I think it was very intentional. I do. I think it's very intentional. Yes, Carrie, Hollywood did champion it. That's right. They did.
And too, even going back literally to when I was a very young child, and even before I was born, there were people that were in Hollywood that were acting, Milton Berle coming on stage in drag and doing things like that. It's a type of conditioning over time.
Yeah. And that was meant to be funny. That was meant to be funny.
Right.
Yeah.
And Flip Wilson, all these different people that were in the Hollywood scene. But when you get that watched by somebody who's like a Bruce Jenner, who's going through just I honestly thought he was going to make a statement and then just go, just kidding. I'm too much of a man, because everybody knew him as a manly man,
Olympic athlete.
Yeah. An Olympic athlete. And
very, very manly man.
Yeah. That one stunned me for sure.
Yeah. It's also been in the medical industry. And I have a little clip on that. We have just a couple more things for this segment, and then we'll go through some of the impacts of the medications. But I don't know how long this clip is, but I'm going to play it.
Okay. A shocking new report reveals nearly half of UCLA medical students are failing basic test of medical competency. That's reassuring. According to the Washington Free Beacon, whistleblowers at the school say the focus on DEI is leaving students, quote, grossly unprepared. And they warn it could have life or death consequences. Listen to this. One professor said that a student in the operating room could not identify a major artery when asked, then berated the professor for putting her on the spot. Meanwhile, another said that the student at the end of their clinical rotations didn't know basic lab tests, and in some cases are unable to present patients. Wow. The school denies there's trouble, telling the Angle, quote, students and faculty members are held to the highest standards of academic excellence, and that students are admitted based on merit in a process consistent with state and federal law.
So this is a very long clip, so I'm not going to show the whole thing, but it's even creeping into our people who are being trained for medical purposes, and people probably who are being trained as like pilots and all these critical roles that perform life and death activities and make life or death decisions. Sure. So, yeah, that's just It's really hard. I think it would take a long time and a very complex investigation to prove some of these things that they have been impacted because of DEI. But I don't know. I think people who are in there that see it and have seen the change after the policy changes happen, then they see the degradation. They're the ones coming out saying these things. So,
well, and there would be a barometer in places, professionalisms like the medical field, the airline field, all of these different places. There will definitely be barometers to check on these things, just as there would be with any other type of hiring source, watching their business either, accelerate or decline in various ways.
yeah, for sure. Let's see. I've got just two more links. I don't know if you guys recall that the Columbia University's interim president had quit. And I don't know if I have this in the right. Because they were saying that they were going to cooperate with President Trump and got a lot of pushback and a lot of external pressure because there was a lot happening in the universities, especially.
Sure.
So she had decided to comply with some of what the Trump administration demanded in order to get their federal funding. And so the pro-Palestinians and the DEI people all kind of ganged up and forced the Columbia's president out, even though she was pretty woke herself.
Yeah.
So it's happening in the universities as well. And then in big tech, because there is Google executives, ex-employees at Google that are actually doing a discrimination lawsuit, I believe, but they're at least calling it out and doing kind of like a whistleblower, saying what happened. So I wanted to cover this because I don't think that this was covered much, and I'm just going to quickly cover this because it's pretty new. It's a pretty new article, and I didn't want to save it for like what's happening now because this is related to the industries, and big tech is a big industry where they've been infiltrated as well. And Facebook and Google and even Twitter before Elon bought Twitter, before it was X. All these big tech companies not only were big on, censorship and propaganda and pushing narratives, but also the DEI stuff. Yeah. So these guys, especially this one guy, is saying that they systematically targeted men to be fired, denying them promotions, refusing to allow them to contribute in meetings, and even distributing memberships to professional organizations that only served women as Christmas gifts. So I've got a couple of things highlighted on here. This guy claims that his boss said that male employees were too aggressive and too competitive. If you can believe that one.
Wow.
Yeah. And then he alleged discriminatory behavior even expressed itself in the Christmas presents. So this is a little more detail of what that gift was. So the executive over this department announced she had signed her team up for a professional organization called Step Up, which, according to its website, is a membership nonprofit providing the structure for girls and those who identify with girlhood.
Wow.
He filed a complaint with his HR, and instead of tackling the situation and addressing it, they moved him to a new team, to a different team.
Of course they did.
Yeah. And he filed an HR complaint about the gender discrimination. And he alleged that the executives lashed out at him and said that the women on my team have better leadership skills and are better prepared. So the guys who are white males are starting to get discriminated against because of the DEI pushes.
Yep.
So his last day at Google's was almost a year ago. And he was told that his position was being eliminated yet as a part of restructuring. But his role was not eliminated, and he was replaced by a woman, actually 2 women.
Wow. Wow.
So that's what happened there. I don't think I have anything else. Oh, I guess I do. 13 out of 14 promotions to director were women, which was statistically impossible based on the number of women there. You know what's really funny? I worked in tech, and I'm going back to work in tech, but I had the opposite experience. It was like the good old boys club for me.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, I don't think that either one serves anybody well. When you have,
No.
you know, there should just be hired for who you are and the work you do.
And what your skills are, period.
Exactly.
Yes.
If you're the best,
that's the whole merit-based, like,
right.
You know, like Lady Justice is supposed to be blind, and same with when you hire somebody, you should be blind. Like, you should just know what their skills are and what they are capable of.
Yes.
Anyway, so anyway, they just they were complaining that they started feeling disadvantaged. So yeah, do you blame them? Okay, I only have one thing I'm pulling up for our next segment, which we're going to talk about transgenders and the medications that they're given. And this is going to be a segue into when we talk about the airlines. So I'm only pulling up one link. I found a million, but I'm pulling up Mayo Clinic. They have this webpage that talks about feminizing hormone therapy.
Great.
We can talk about it a little bit, and then I'll go through what they say are some of the impacts. But I don't know if you have any thoughts on how companies and people can be impacted by the medical treatments that they are taking. If you have thoughts on that, we'll talk about that first. Otherwise, I can just...
You know, it's kind of personal with my husband. Some people, I'm not going to say most, some people on your Telegram channel know that my husband has stage 4 pancreatic cancer. It metastasized. It was stage 4. It was in his liver, bile duct, all that, before we even heard about what was wrong going on with him. And his oncologist suggested that we could go to Vanderbilt University.
I know my sister used to work there.
And do some like, I don't know, just checking different options out. And we chose not to because that is the one place we did not want to step foot in for our own personal choice, was because they, of all hospitals in all the nation, do the most transgender, child transgender mutilation is what I call it, operations. And then they give them these hormones and all that stuff to change over. So it's a hard call for us to be thrown into the medical world because of a sickness and have to choose certain places because of what they do. You know, I'm sure their oncology department is okay, but my husband made he told his oncologist that Vanderbilt is a 4-letter word to him. He just doesn't.
Wow. So Vanderbilt went woke, or what?
Oh, Vanderbilt's been doing this since before DEI. They have been at the helm of with the kids and all that stuff. So
Really doing
it's
the
dark and it's ugly and it's known. So yeah, it's a tough one. It's
yeah.
tough
You
choice.
know, my sister is a nurse. She's no longer in Tennessee. She's now in Florida. I should ask her about that with the hospitals. She works at a hospital. So interesting from your perspective. So what did you do to try to find the right place that he could go?
Well, again, the Lord has his hands over our lives so much.
Yeah.
We moved here from California. It'll be 3 years in October. My best friend from California moved here 15 years ago. We live about an hour and a half apart from each other. We don't live close. We're not neighbors, but she ended up with triple negative breast cancer 10 years ago. And
wow.
She went, I was still in California at the time, so I didn't get to come and see her. She ended up with a double mastectomy and all the things that come with it.
Yeah.
She's still alive. She's doing well. And when we got, Jim got his diagnosis last year, she was the first person I called. Where do we go? And middle Tennessee, because Tennessee's, long, narrow state. So it's divided into three portions. Western, middle, and eastern Tennessee, and we're in the southern part of middle Tennessee.
Yep.
And so we chose her doctor and her oncologist. We went to see him. He is one of the founders of Tennessee Oncology, which is a huge bell ringer for us.
Yeah.
And he's a Christian. It's awesome. He prays over us and everything. It's awesome all the way around. But we talked about these things. We talked about different places to go, not just where he's at, but he offered us all these different places. And Vanderbilt was the second to his of where we should be able to go to get some good care. And we said, we'll stay with you.
Yeah.
My friends.
Well, you look at you, how blessed you are to have found him. So that's awesome.
It's a very strange, long road, but here we are. And yeah. It's amazing the things that come up in our conversation, because these type of conversations will come up, the DEI and all that. He will not put up with this stuff in his practice, and it doesn't matter who comes down on him to do it. He's not going to put up with this type of stuff.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about then the feminizing hormone therapy and how that impacts someone's mental or physical. It's mainly the physical health that is covered here. So they actually try to word the impacts of this in a more positive way, talking about improving psychological and social well-being. Now, I will say, if you're doing some of this with kids, it actually has the opposite effect. A lot of kids that detransition become psychologically unwell and socially unwell. And, they try to use the excuse of, and I know this show is not about transgender and we're covering this for a specific purpose, but just real quick, they say that, getting parents on board, they say, your child will likely commit suicide if you don't affirm what they want, when really it's the opposite. When you do this and they get pushed and pressured, they become suicidal. We've seen so many detransition stories. I would love to compile some of those and do like a montage of some of those. Anyway, they also say it eases psychological and emotional distress, just like what I talked about. It's really the opposite.
It's all a lie.
Yeah. Improve satisfaction with sex. Many people who transition, what happens to them? They can no longer they can't feel anything. And improves quality of life. So anyway, this is, just take this as a grain of salt, but they do talk about the medical side effects on here, and that's what I want to cover.
Look at that very next
Well,
one.
that's the first thing.
Yep.
So they might advise against you if you have, so this is not impacts of taking the hormone therapy.
Right.
This is you probably shouldn't do it if you have these things. So that's a hormone sensitive cancer, blood clots, anything with the heart, that kind of stuff. Or any other significant medical condition, or if you have behavioral health conditions that haven't been addressed, which is interesting that they put that in there. Okay, so now what we're going to look at is the risks. That's what I wanted to cover.
Yep.
Look what can happen when you're going through this therapy to transition. You can get blood clots. Strokes, other heart problems. You can get a high level of triglycerides in your blood, potassium. And I will tell you that overdosing on like potassium is super dangerous.
Absolutely.
And you can be loopy from that. High levels of hormone prolactin in the blood and high blood pressure. So there's other things here like weight gain, that kind of stuff. But I wanted to highlight these because people that are in the middle of transitioning or have been or are going to, and they are in critical roles, it's really important to know that these things happen. And just like with the vaccines, it's not like they're rare.
Correct.
You're messing with Mother Nature here. You're messing with the way God designed our bodies. And then they talk about fertility. I don't think what you can expect. So this is the medicine that's normally given. And they say down lower that the reason that they give this medicine and it has more side effects is because the other one that has fewer is more expensive.
This is just one side too. This is just a male going to transitioning to a female.
Yeah.
This is not a female transitioning to a male, which has its own set of issues also.
Right. And it will have similar issues. And I'm just laying this out as an example.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. So, and then it says it's best not to take estrogen as a pill if you have a personal or family history of blood clots in deep vein or in the lungs. Thrombosis, basically. And I think, the other thing is they have to have blood tests to check for changes in their cholesterol, potassium, their blood count. They look at liver enzymes, things that could, other things that could be caused from hormone therapy.
Yep.
And they have to monitor their behavioral health once they get on that as well. So their behaviors could change as well.
Which is strange because up at the beginning that said that everything's going to be fine.
I know, everything's great, right?
Everything's fine, but we need to monitor your behavior.
Exactly. It's like, what the heck? So I just wanted to cover that before we got into the military and airline stuff. And we do want to get into that. And I'm just going to expand my little notes page here. So what we are going to talk through is manufacturing, the quality assurance, and especially pilots and like what they think, what they've been experiencing, that kind of stuff. So, So, this is where I'm going to talk about Obama.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to start with, I think I have all these bookmarks in good order. So back in the day when Obama was in office, he got rid of the don't ask, don't tell. Do you remember that?
I very much remember that.
Yep. So, I don't even think I need to read this article. I don't even know that I highlighted it. Actually, I did want to show part of this video. So that was repealed. The Don't Ask, Don't Tell was repealed. That was put in place by Bill Clinton when he was in office. And maybe I'll just describe this video so we can move on. But because I wanted to make my point that a lot of this started back with Obama. And one big thing that he did was remove the Don't Ask, Don't Tell from the military. And this girl was being interviewed. She was the only female in her group, and she happened to be lesbian. And she said before Don't Ask, Don't Tell, she couldn't talk about it. Right. But after, she said, we're so close and we have each other's lives in our hands. And so I came out to my group, and I'm thinking, how does somebody who is informed of the type of person you have sex with make you safer if they're saving your life? Or, it's not like she's going to a dinner party and just happens to invite her girlfriend. She literally came forward to present this. How many people, if I'm sitting in an office with my office workers, how many times would I be in a meeting where I would be like, guess what, guys? I have sex with men and I'm heterosexual.
Right.
Nobody.
Because they know, I think deep down, it's any kind of difference that's not of the norm. People want to feel normal. They want to feel normalized. And
yes,
when they're in a world of people that are so different than they are, they feel excluded. And the only way to feel included is to share what it is about that you do similar, but in a different way. And the only thing that they have is sex. That's all they have. Because everything else, you still brush your teeth, you still get dressed, you still do your job. Nothing else matters other than that.
Yeah. I feel like it'd be different if they were invited to a work party and she happened to bring her girlfriend versus announcing it.
Sure.
I don't know.
They want to be part of the team, and that's the
maybe
only thing that they feel they have to offer that makes them feel
maybe
belong.
Yeah, but that's one of the things with Obama. I want to take just a quick break. I want to say hello to Natalie. Natalie, thank you for joining us. She says, praying all is well with you all. Late, but happy to be here. So,
Natalie. Hi, Natalie. We've been praying for you so much.
Yeah, so Natalie recently lost her husband, and I have kept you in my prayers, Natalie, and we love you so much.
Very much.
Little personal break there to say hi to our friend. Yeah. Absolutely. Okay, I'll pull this back up. And then under Obama as well, the Federal Aviation Administration, their diversity hiring practices were under scrutiny back in the Obama days.
I believe it.
Critics warned that Obama and the Biden administrations had jeopardized safety by prioritizing diversity, equity, and inclusion. So this happened, back when Obama was in office. And they started those types of hiring trends with the DEI. So a lot of the DEI stuff started with Obama putting DEI into the agencies. There's a lot of infiltration happening before President Trump's first term, and it all happened under the Obama administration between 2008 and 2016. Obama did a rush of a lot of this in June, July of 2016, before the election. So right at the last part of his term.
Well, and remember too, he also completely overhauled what people were allowed to say when they were reporting the news.
I was just looking.
I mean, he literally wrote scripts for them. I don't mean him literally, but I mean his administration would decide what was going to be said. What's the word? Just being cut off and not being able to say anything, being, taken off. I had a channel on Facebook, Missy's Little Red Hen, and it got squashed under Obama because people were finding stuff out about him and sharing it, and he didn't want anything to be known. So he really started squashing stuff like that. That's under his administration again. So if you put the two together, it kind of just grows and morphs into this big, ugly thing that we have now.
Yeah, the law that made it illegal for the U.S. government to allow the CIA to do surveillance. So they were doing surveillance of foreign nations on foreign soil and doing foreign propaganda. All of that was banned in the United States, and under Obama, yes, Carrie, the Smith-Mund Act was repealed. Thank you, Carrie, for bringing that up. Yeah, so, but that gets into the whole censorship about everything.
Yes. And he started it, that big guy right there.
Yep. So I wanted to point out that Obama started the exponential growth of DEI.
Absolutely.
Yep. So I just had a couple of examples there.
Excellent.
And happy birthday, Carrie. Carrie's birthday was yesterday.
Yes.
Yay. Woohoo. We got our Carrie. You guys might have noticed that I didn't do a dance party. Not only did Carrie not want that, but I feel like I might miss people's birthdays. So if you guys still want a dance party for your own birthday, let me know and we'll do one. But I was thinking about maybe not doing those anymore unless you want them, because I feel bad because I don't know everybody's birthday. Carrie, you're still eating cake? Oh, that's hilarious.
She said it was a big pink one, so I guess so, huh?
A big pink cake.
That's so funny. You know what? I'm on the other side of that coin, Nevs. I want to dance when it's everybody else's birthday. It's so I'm just happy that everybody gets to just celebrate and have a good time and a good day.
Well, we should still have, we should have dance parties now and then, and it doesn't necessarily even have to be. It doesn't have to be somebody's birthday, but okay. Maybe I'll reach out to each person individually when I know it's somebody's birthday coming up. If I forgot your birthday or missed it, I apologize because I don't know everybody's birthdays. I'm sorry.
Of course not.
But we like to go on Telegram for people who are watching on X or on YouTube. Telegram is where we do all the fun stuff. We have our coffee together and share memes and do dance parties. Okay.
That's right.
All right. So we've got a lot to go through here. Should we talk about the impacts?
I think that would be an excellent thing to do next.
Okay. So I've got a lot to share. Do you want me to share any of your stuff first? Did I have something for segment 3 for you? Let me just double check really quick.
I don't have that.
No, I've got segment 4, so I'll just go through what I've got here. Okay. All right, so we've got Delta Airlines here. Delta Airlines, let's see, when was this? This was in February. They reaffirmed their commitment to DEI initiatives, but then what happened right after? this Toronto crash. So what was discovered as a part of this crash is that the person flying the plane was not only potentially a DEI hire for gender, but also didn't have the required number of hours that are supposed to be under them in order to fly commercially. So how did that
happen?
What
that number is?
What number is?
The number of hours. I do believe it's 1,500 hours need to be under them.
Let me see if it's even on here. Let me do a search really quick.
My daughter that lives here nearby, her sister-in-law, her husband's a pilot, and he's still a co-pilot because he doesn't have enough hours, and he's been flying for a couple years now.
Yeah, I think it was close to 1,500.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the.
But yeah, remember this one? This landed upside down.
Yep.
And so right before this happened, though, they talked about how committed they were to continue their DEI practices. Mm-hmm. Now, we're not saying that this airplane incident happened because the woman was a woman, but the question is, why did they have her flying a plane with very few hours under her belt, not the required like 1,500 or whatever the requirement is? Mm-hmm. And was she hired and put in that position because she was a woman? And the reason we all question that is because they pushed their commitment for DEI right before this happened. So that kind of highlights, you know. Mm-hmm. What's going on with the monkey? What monkey?
Yeah, there's your video still up. Your New York Post is still showing.
Oh, it's a different video. Is it a monkey?
Yeah, there was a monkey and then there was a frog tunnel.
Oh, that's so funny. Sorry. Sorry about that. All right. Anyway, so that's one. Then there was a GOP report that claimed that the Biden administration and the Pentagon policies were weakening the military. Oh my gosh, I should have kept that on. The frog tunnel.
The frog tunnel. Yep.
I should have kept that on.
I think it was quick and over. It was quick and over. It was there,
well.
It was gone.
I'm going to have to go back to that link and see if I can find that video and steal it. Okay. Because I missed it. Anyway, so they talked about the dangers, because this is the impacts, especially with the Pentagon weakening the military through DEI. Mm-hmm. And they were saying like, our people are the most important. They're our top priority. You would think that the military would say the safety of the country is our top priority.
Right.
Right? Can I like pause these videos? I just don't like that when they play. I don't think I highlighted anything on here except to just push a point. The GOP, since Biden has gotten into office, I really wish they would have been a little stronger earlier, are pushing the dangers of DEI in the military. And we're going to talk more about that, but
yes.
I don't know if you noticed after Biden got into office, and I didn't want to have any of these videos to show because they're super annoying, but there were these military people who would show themselves on TikTok in their uniform and then put on their drag. It's not even like transgender. It's like pure drag.
Yeah.
And show that. And I think some of them got in trouble for that because you're not supposed to be in your uniform as like entertaining on TikTok or whatever.
Right.
But yeah, they were.
And I don't think you're allowed to do personal videos like that when you are. I mean,
in uniform.
I've seen a couple of them when they're on their aircraft carrier. And
wow.
They spin around and show the whole entire thing. Like, this is what's allowed now. And then, you know how you can morph a video into you spin and then you spin and now you're in drag and now you're in your uniform and now you're in drag. Yeah, it was that on the aircraft carrier at sea. So somebody had to okay this. And yeah, it's pretty bad.
Well, that's crazy. Anyway. And then the next one is, okay. This is a video I have that I'm actually going to be pausing and we can talk about it while she's talking. It's a 2-minute video. We're going to show part of it. We'll talk about it. Then we'll show the rest. So this is that same gal that was on Tucker Carlson.
Her name is Captain Sherry Walker. She's been a pilot for 35 years.
Ah, yeah. She had a lot to say.
She's an instructor and she's also a professor. So, yeah, she's
wow. Yeah. All right. So let's and then I'm going to whip through some of these things. We'll talk about quality too, but let's go ahead and start playing some of her. Actually, I think I'm going to play her from the stage because I think it'll sound better.
Wait a second. At the time that was going on, there were studies out there that showed exactly what you indicated. In fact, the statistics from the National Transgender something, their own statistics, they had surveyed over 27,000 of their members. And I believe it was 39% said they had suffered serious mental health issues in the month prior to the survey.
Okay. So this kind of speaks to what we were talking about with the mental impacts, you know? Mm-hmm. And these statistics are incredible and they're kind of scary. So this is a survey that was taken, and the percentage of people who have mental issues, are suicidal, that kind of stuff.
40% said they had attempted suicide in their lifetime, and 7% in the month prior to the survey. That data was available.
7%?
7%.
I shouldn't laugh. It's tragic, but 7% tried to kill themselves in the last month?
In the last month? Of 27,000 people, do the math. I mean, somewhere in there's got to be an airline pilot applicant, right? So,
yeah, just to be clear, this is not a survey of all pilots. This is a survey of all transgender people. And we don't know what subset of those, how many people that are flying planes are, transitioning.
Right.
But based on those numbers, 7% of those people likely may be suicidal. And one of the things she was talking about that I didn't clip was being concerned about flying with somebody who has been taking these medications and could potentially have that type of side effect.
Right. She didn't say as much, but I think that when you listen to this podcast, you come to the understanding that there are more men transitioning than women because of what she talks about, the type of drugs going from male to female, just like what we read in the Mayo Clinic. All of that she describes in this podcast, leading up to what you just said, is that,
Well, I would believe that. Like, we only see a lot of the transition stuff. A lot of it's just men who are, like, when you see people creating TikTok videos, that kind of stuff. You don't see a lot of women. You do see women, like that actress you pointed out to me.
Yes.
What's her name again?
I cannot remember her name. What did you say?
I just asked what's her name. But which is, but yeah, I do think it's mostly men. And why is that?
Well, I know, growing up in the 60s and 70s, men loved to do drag. There were lots of movies. Look at Some Like It Hot with Marilyn Monroe, Jack Lemmon, and whatever his name is. They dressed in drag to pretend to be a woman through that whole movie. It was
Yeah, there were some comedian women that did the same thing, like Lucy, I think, had done that, Carol Burnett, stuff like that. But yeah, I'm just curious why actual transitioners, though, seem to be mostly, yeah, I'm not sure. Okay, let me continue with her here.
Why did the federal air surgeon not look at some of the data that was available?
You don't want suicidal people flying commercial airplanes.
Suicidal people flying airplanes. But even more importantly, studies have been done since then that are even worse. Now we look at the medical side of it and hormone replacement therapy.
Yes.
Right? Do you know what the number one thing the FAA Aeromedical Department is pilot incapacitation, right? That's heart attacks, that's deep vein thrombosis, it's strokes. Everything that we go through as pilots, aside from our ability to hear and see, is to ensure that we will not become incapacitated in our seat, right? I'm not going to fall over because I have diabetes or something like that. So I think it was 2020 and it was updated in 23. They conducted a study of males transitioning to females on hormone replacement therapy. Now, they're not just pilots, just in general. 80 to 90% increase for DVT, heart attack, and stroke.
80 to 90% increase risk of those things.
Yes.
So, so that's the impacts. And, these co-pilots have to fly with these pilots and they are letting them fly planes. And it used to be, I don't know if I was watching or reading something, but it used to be that if there was some kind of major change like that a pilot would have to wait at least 5 years before they would be allowed to fly. And they were no longer making them wait 5 years.
Right.
I don't know if that was her or a different video I saw.
She said that it was something along those lines.
Okay, maybe it was her.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was similar to that. What she was saying was that since you have gone 5 years, certain pilots, since they have already been transitioned 5 years, because people have been transitioning for a lot longer than just Biden's administration, right?
Mm-hmm.
So she's saying that if you have lived with all of this for 5 years and have not had these issues, you're clean to fly. The doctor's not even looking at them and questioning if they're going to have a mental breakdown or a deep vein thrombosis or a stroke or a cardiac incident. If you've lived 5 years, that's like, for whatever reason, that's their cutoff line that, well, you're good to go. And it just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense at all.
No.
Anyway, so I just removed that video because I think that was pretty much what I wanted to cover with that one. Continue. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, she's a commercial pilot. Now you have these people. I don't know what that person that I was telling you about in that video that was doing their little drag thing on the aircraft carrier. Is that guy a pilot? Does he work in the kitchen and serve food, or is he a pilot? I mean, there's a lot of different jobs on an aircraft carrier. It's a small
for sure.
job,
Yeah.
And so, in the military, it's one thing to do commercial flying, and it should not be allowed. It should not be regulated that way. None of this should be part of our air traffic system, FAA, or the air traffic controllers, any of this.
Right.
Pilots, whatever. But then you move that over to the military. These people are non-deployable.
Yes.
Because of every 6 months they have to have a psychological eval. They have to have their medical. Every day they're taking some kind of a pill. Every day. It's not a weekly, it's not a month. It is every single day they're taking a pill.
That was one of the things she said, is that part of that psychological evaluation and some of the evaluation, they've lowered the standards on that.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yes, absolutely.
Yep. Interesting.
Yeah.
So B2B Auto and Carrie both said they have to travel soon.
Yep.
And
My
I'm
children are
traveling.
traveling. Yep.
Huh?
I said my children are traveling over Easter weekend. They're flying to California to visit elderly family that they need to see
Yeah.
now. So,
Well, B2B Auto is traveling next week. Carrie is traveling next month.
Yep.
I'm traveling in June. I haven't flown in forever, but
Yeah.
I'm traveling in June. So we just, you know what? We'll just pray.
the Lord has control ultimately over all of it.
That's right. That's right. Okay. So this okay, we're just going to watch another video and we'll see what you think about this. I remember this. This was pretty awesome.
I'm going to revisit something you've talked about already. My name is Matt Lohmeyer. I was an Air Force F-15 pilot, and I was a commander in your newly created U.S. Space Force. I am also the first veteran of the Space Force because under the Biden-Harris regime, I was fired from my command and lost my pension for criticizing DEI trainings that were rampant in the military. Those trainings are still dividing our troops, and thank you for saying you would fire those few woke generals who are a big problem.
They're gone.
I'm going to suggest
They gone.
that it
They
might,
gone.
in fact, require ongoing oversight and a persistent, consistent watch.
That's probably enough of that, but I wanted to point him out because he's super awesome. Matt Lohmeyer, I think his name's Lohmeyer. Yes. I can't believe they let him go from the military. He's like, I'm the first veteran because
Well,
I was like, oh.
You know what happened after that, right?
What?
I can't remember what position he's in, but he is in a high-ranking position in the military.
Is he?
Yes, Trump brought him on his team. Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
man. Okay, wait. I got to look that up.
Yep.
I'm going to do some live digging here.
I was like, what a keen setup that was. That was awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty cool that he could go and talk to President Trump and all of that. Let's see.
I think that was a big help having him in the Space Force, though, because Trump started that anyway. So I think they chose him to get up there because of all that he had been through, and they just wanted him to. They wanted to meet. They wanted them to meet. You know. So
yeah.
But yeah,
well,
he's got a good rank right now. He's doing something. Can't remember what it is, but
let's see. Remove other media. I never had to do that before. Okay. So I looked him up. Oh, he's a former, it says former U.S. commander who was fired.
Yeah, he got.
Oh, here we go.
There it is. No.
Oh.
Yes.
I wonder if he's joined yet because I'm like, I didn't even hear that. Okay.
Yep.
All right. So he's tapped. He'll serve alongside Troy Meinke, who Trump tapped to lead the Air Force. Okay. So we'll see. I'll have to look into that more.
What was the date on that?
This was January.
Yeah, I think he's in. I'm almost positive he's there.
Okay. All right.
But yeah, it was pretty awesome because I thought as soon as I saw his name and saw his face, I'm like, that's the guy that was on there at the town hall.
Oh, yeah.
It's pretty cool. Pretty cool.
It is cool.
But
and
you
then,
know what, too, Nebs, is that
yeah.
whole thing that she was talking about with the drugs and them flying and all that. This is what's keeping. This is why Trump said no more DEI in the military, because I mean, my son was in the military. Both my sons and my son-in-law, they were all in the Army. But you can't even deploy with braces. You can't deploy with retainers. My son
really?
My son was 18 years old and could not deploy anywhere if he had retainers. So he left him at home because he became an issue because you have to get medical consideration. You can't be out in the middle of Iraq saying, I need a new retainer, boss. I mean, you just can't. So, you know, these people, that are taking these drugs, they have to have psych evals. They have to have their medication every single day. They have to then have every 3 months or so, I think it is. And I only know this because not just because my son served, but because I have a friend whose daughter transitioned to a male, and she, we'll never call her a him, but she is in the Navy currently. And she might be losing her job because of all the things that she's done to her body to be a man in the Navy. But then that judge stepped up a couple days ago and said, nope, can't do that. One of the rogue judges. So we'll see how far that goes. But these people are literally non-deployable. And if you are having an entire Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, you're only as strong as your weakest link. So if you have DEI people that are transitioning and taking these drugs and needing these continuous psych evals every few months, now you have made an extremely weak army, which is, of course, part of the plan of the enemy.
Right.
So,
it's kind of crazy that they would even implement these policies in
well, it's anti-American.
In the military and in airlines. It's super crazy. All right. The other thing the FAA did was this diversity push to include focus on hiring people with severe intellectual and psychiatric disabilities.
Yep.
FAA.
Yep.
They're responsible for like keeping the skies safe, air traffic control.
Yep.
And that's I don't think I need to show any more than just that headline right there, but you can understand the impacts that we're talking about as we go through here.
And our Department of Transportation, the head, Sean Duffy, he put a stop to that right away. He's like, we're not doing that anymore.
Yep.
You know, thank God.
For sure.
And they're now hiring people, so people who are going to be flying and that are watching this and traveling in different manners and who, love our military. There are steps that are being taken right now, kind of to quote what Dan Bongino said.
That's a really good point. Yes, that's a great point to make, because
things are being done and taken care of, and they are squashing what has been done to us by hiring those who are intelligent and capable of the job they were hired to do.
Yeah. Carrie said, I'm going to have nightmares before my trip. Don't, Carrie, because they're making changes. They're making changes.
Yeah, don't let them steal your joy, Carrie.
Okay, I'm going to get back to this, but remember when I said, that actress?
Yes.
This is her.
Yes.
So I don't remember her name.
She started that too a long time ago. She started that probably 10 years ago.
Really?
Yeah, she started with the whole, I want to say it was when Trump was in office. She was doing the whole cisgender thing and saying, I'm not comfortable in my body or who I am. But then there's that video showing just how happy she is. And she's a mess.
Yeah, she is. I didn't get that pulled up, but anyway.
Yeah, no, it's sad. It's just, she's a mess.
All right, we have, we're going to talk about quality and rebranding. I want to focus on Boeing. Do you guys remember everything that happened over the last year related to Boeing? Well, so they got rid of their DEI division. I was going to wait and cover this at the end, but what I wanted to point out is their concern with about safety and production quality. So this is related to quality. Isn't that funny that they decided to get rid of DEI? That's almost an admission that was causing issues.
Sure.
And it actually was causing issues because NASA came out with a report to say that was a problem.
Yep.
NASA literally created a report on Boeing saying that DEI was impacting the safety of space flights and space ships,
Yep.
manufacturing.
Yes.
So here it even says here, NASA report reveals Boeing's use of unqualified workers contributed to a flurry of problems.
Yep. Just imagine that. I just don't know why.
Oh, I actually have this link as a part of what I was going to cover here.
Right on.
So so NASA literally had a report. This was reported back in August 11th of 2024. They're using underqualified workers, and it actually caused problems. Remember these people who just came home because Elon rescued them? Yep.
Just came home.
Yeah. Oh, I did highlight stuff here. It said that the Space Launch System project led to significant quality control issues. This is a new NASA report that came out. NASA's Officer of Inspector General report highlighted the lack of trained and experienced aerospace workers as a major factor. It also pointed out significant quality control deficiencies, which raised safety concerns, and the report recommended that NASA implement stricter quality control measures. So Boeing's Starliner spacecraft encountered helium leaks and malfunctions in its reactor control system in June, leaving these astronauts stranded in space. But not only that, we heard about all these other issues just with Boeing airplanes themselves.
And and they aren't issues like, oh, the plane was put together yesterday and we got an issue. These are planes that have been put together, and different manufacturing that has been done over years.
Yep.
So, yeah, it's a concern.
It is a concern. Let's just talk about B2B auto. Talking about not fearing the flights, as Stonewall Jackson said, "My religious beliefs teach me to feel as safe in battle as in bed. Amen. God has fixed the time of my death. I do not concern myself with that, but to be always ready whenever something." I don't see the whole thing. Anyway, beautiful. Yes, that Absolutely. Is a great reminder.
Yep.
Okay, here, the Justice Department wanted to defend their DEI policy themselves when they were trying to strike a deal with Boeing. But the Justice Department was preparing to defend itself to use diversity policies because they were choosing an independent monitor over Boeing. And they were using their DEI policies to do it. So that, that just encompasses, it's not just Boeing, but even the oversight of Boeing. DEI was impacting that.
Yeah.
Potentially.
Yeah.
So it says here the politically tinged fight is playing out in a federal court in Texas where U.S. District Judge, this was back in the Biden administration. Mm-hmm. The judge started honing in on the language the Department of Justice was using. So the standard language used by DOJ for diversity, equity, inclusion to be taken into consideration when choosing corporate monitors. What's interesting about this, they said that the Justice Department officials were bracing for the possibility that O'Connor could use this case as a way to challenge the use of DEI policies, which the Biden administration has embraced. O'Connor being the judge.
Yes.
It's interesting what the judge asked them. But the judge asked them why the Justice Department included DEI considerations in choosing a monitor. And the prosecutor acknowledged to the judge that he wasn't an expert in DEI and tried to explain that the policy doesn't mean in practice that we select less qualified monitors. With the judge interjecting with this question, did the department used to exclude certain people on race, gender, or other things? That was a poignant question. And of course, the response is not to my knowledge.
Yeah.
But that's a very poignant question from the judge because that is against the law. You're not allowed to do that.
Of course. And, you know, to just use a kind of a crass quote, but it is what it is. But it just, they're just all in bed together. It's just very frustrating, you know.
Yeah.
If you want us to use your stuff, then you got to do it this way. And then we'll pretend like, you know, you guys are the greatest and we're going to use, you know what I mean? It's just, it's hyperinflated BS, honestly.
Yeah. And they say we are hyperinflating conspiracy theories. Oh, I already covered this. Okay. I got one more on quality. And this is, Tucker used to call him Don Lemon. Don Lemon.
That's so funny.
Don Lemon on The View.
That's so funny.
On that. And you asked me what he didn't like, and it's really facts.
It's this.
Right?
Okay.
So this is, can I set it up for you? So this is what you remember what happened with the Alaskan Airlines plane?
Yes.
When the door fell off?
Yeah.
And then there was a woman pilot, the woman who was piloting the plane.
Yeah, that's another incident. The Alaskan Airlines plane and the door flew off.
Yes.
So they're talking about that here.
Probably.
And they're trying to defend the DEI thing, and it's kind of funny. But let's just listen.
But they landed safely, and then he tweeted about it saying basically saying DEI was making the skies unsafe.
But she landed it safely.
But that was my point.
They need to know what DEI is.
Do you believe that women and minority pilots are inherently less intelligent and less skilled than white male pilots?
No, I'm just saying that we should not lower the standards for them.
But there's no evidence that standards are being lowered when it comes to the airline industry.
You've repeatedly said that there's no evidence that standards are being lowered, and watch the replies showing all the evidence that it is.
Replies, though, on social media or on Twitter are not necessarily fact and evidence.
No,
that's people's opinion.
They will cite all the replies. In the replies to this, you will see how often the information is cited, showing that indeed there are significant cases where standards are lowered.
Oh.
Yeah. So Elon just pushes back saying people are bringing the sauce and they're proving that they're lowering standards in order to get DEI hirings in place. And they shouldn't have to lower the standards. The military did that as well, didn't they?
Yes, they did. They did. Well, they did that because I was just reading or I was listening to a podcast, and the gentleman was covering this very thing, especially with the military. And he was discussing how women in special forces, their ability to do the physical agility test, their times are lowered. Their test is skewed because it's easier. It's a shorter time. It's an easier track to run, and I mean just all of it. And I do believe that Hegseth has said we're not doing that anymore. It's one standard across the board. If you make it, you make it. If you don't, you don't. It doesn't matter.
Right. It shouldn't.
It shouldn't. And not only that, but I'm a woman. I'm a woman with I don't have the military background. But my grandfather, my brother, my cousin, my sons, my son-in-law. I mean, I'm surrounded by military personnel all the time, all my life. And there is one thing that you do, and that is you do your best. And if you don't make the cut, you're not participating in it.
Right. Exactly.
And I don't want women in special forces, honestly. I don't. I don't.
Yeah.
I know what a woman has to do on a daily when she's in her 20s, 30s, 40s, and even 50s. And you don't want that person as a special forces leader trying to get across some, I don't know. I mean, you know what I'm saying? It just is.
Yeah.
Look at the Navy SEALs. You just don't.
You can't. No.
It's not right.
I think some of the universities also got rid of some of those entrance exams that the kids are supposed to take to get into college. Like the SAT. I don't know if it was the SAT or the other one. There's a different one.
There's the SAT and isn't there the CSAT? Well, that might be
Something like that. Yeah, it was something like that.
Yeah.
So yes, they are lowering standards in order to. They don't need to. People, regardless of their sexual preference, regardless of the color of their skin, are capable. These people are capable, just like, anybody else is capable, whether you're a man or a woman. And if you're not capable, you're not. But it shouldn't be, you shouldn't have to lower standards based on those qualifications, because that doesn't make any sense. That's them having an assumption that these people can't do something,
right?
Which is silly. They're human beings.
It's playing on the emotional tug of the heart that they're counting on that everybody is going to press into, because every mama wants their baby to be part of the crew. Every daddy wants their boy to succeed. Every daddy wants to be proud of their girl. I mean, they're truly just tugging on the psychological, emotional benefits of truly just gaslighting everybody.
Yeah.
They're and you know what? Sadly, it's worked in a lot of different places. And in a lot of different people's minds. I think truly it just shows the weakness of where we are spiritually.
That's a good point. Yeah. That's a great point. I do know that all these quality issues, there have been reports of pilots saying that they are nervous, and I didn't have media to pull up or anything, but they are nervous about being a co-pilot with like a transgender person who's going through a transition. They're afraid to take a break. They're afraid to go to the bathroom because just all the changes in policy.
Right.
And there's more than one pilot. So even that woman pilot that we saw that was interviewed on Tucker, she was talking about some of that too.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, she was talking about mostly long hauls, like going from, California to Australia. The long hauls where you have to take an 8-hour break. You have to decompress. You have to
That's right. She said you're required after 8 hours that you have to take a break.
You have to
required by law.
Yeah, that's what I meant. You have to take a break of a potty break, a dinner break, and they didn't want to. Not her. She said that she has never specifically flown with somebody.
Could you imagine, though? I mean, could you imagine if you had that worry? Wouldn't you report to your superiors that I am really uncomfortable flying this plane? I am not even comfortable to take a break. Are they afraid to say that, or what are they thinking?
They have said that, but.
Good night, B2B Auto. Thank you for joining. I know we're going a little longer than normal. Sorry about that. Okay, I'm going to talk, because we're an hour and a half in, I want to cover something really quick before we talk about some of the wins. I want to talk about how they have been trying to rebrand. So, well, I'm not even sure what these links are, so I'll be surprised when I pull them up, I guess. Oh, yeah. Okay. I do want to cover this because I almost posted about it. So Libs of TikTok posted that this Army JAG Joseph Berger, who has now been fired, by the way, he had consolidated DEI into what he called the Office of Professional and Organizational Development. And she got, I don't know if it's a she, is Libs of TikTok?
They're women.
Yeah. Okay. That's what I thought.
I think it's 2 or 3 women that are.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I think it started
like
with one.
Justices out there on the right side.
But readers added context. They thought, there's a community note on here. Hey, the Army, is in compliance with POTUS's executive orders. And I'm going to click on this actually. And that the Army confirmed this is an old memo and all of this. And then it says to go to this Army status. But before I go there, well, maybe I'll just show that real quick. So the U.S. Army posted back in January before he was fired, actually.
Mm-hmm.
No, it was February. Okay. The Army said this is an old memo. DEI is dead, but what they do link to is a press release from that was older. Can you guys see my screen, or is this opening in a new window?
Just the general still.
Darn it! It's
still X.
Sorry. It was opening in a new window. And I don't have my whole screen shared. Because you don't need to see like my disorganized bookmarks tab. Okay. So here's the Army. They said, this is an old memo. And then they refer you to their news release, which I am going to pull up as well. So it's like, got to follow everything. And then I want to get back to the Libs of TikTok. But this was January. So this was just like a week and a half after Trump became president that they said, that the identity months are dead.
Yes.
Okay. So that's just setting the context so you guys know. So you don't think I'm trying to pull the wool over your eyes or anything. But what's interesting is this is, let me get back to the post itself. All right. So that it's a thread. And Libs of TikTok said there's a podcast hosted by Berger explaining how the Office of Professional and Organizational Development will really just be DEI. And it was deleted a few weeks ago, and it was probably deleted because this was one of the guys that were tagged to be let go. So there was a podcast. This was from October 2024, so it wasn't that long ago. So it's not like it's an old memo.
Nope.
It was within the last several months.
Yep.
And I'm just going to pause it because it's playing without me having sound on. All right.
Greetings. I'm Lieutenant General Joe Berger, and it's my privilege to serve as your 42nd Judge Advocate General. I couldn't be more honored or more excited to lead this global team of incredibly talented and dedicated professionals. The Army's JAG Corps is composed of nearly 10,000 diverse individuals who are truly our strength. Our Corps consists of legal personnel from all components.
Actually, I'm going to stop it just because we're running.
Well, my first red flag, what he said was global. Global and
Yeah.
diverse.
But then he introduced the gal who's heading up this what he created, this new OPOD is what he calls it. And she was saying, yeah, like, if you have questions on different things, you can come, whether it's wellness. And then the last point she makes is that the diversity, equity, inclusion was being absorbed by her office, and to go to her office for those types of things too. So Libs of TikTok was right, even though they got corrected. And yes, he got fired. But my question is, does that office, that OPOD office, does it still exist? Is it being funded? Does it still have DEI within it, regardless of the fact that they let him go? So that's the question.
It used to be called Human Resources. Now it's just now.
Yeah, exactly. Human Resources is now just DEI. You know, but is DEI dead? That's the question of the show.
Yeah, no. Unfortunately.
That was a quick response.
DEI is not DIE.
Well, so this is what I want to get into. This is like a segue into that, because I think we need to stay vigilant. Yes. And I'm pulling my bookmarks back up because for some reason I closed them. So what they're trying to do is, this is a perfect example. Even though he's gone, they wanted to rebrand DEI. Yes.
Yep.
And as a matter of fact, there was recently a Project Veritas video out of this guy that, was he in the Space Force, or I don't remember what agency he was a part of, but he said, yeah, we're going to try to follow what Trump wants, and we can just reword things.
Yep.
And, you know, they're finding a lot of this stuff through probably AI, and they're probably searching for specific keywords. They need to dig into their agency's policies a little more than that, because they're rewording things. They're rewording climate change to environmental disasters. Yeah. DEI into.
And that's not the first time that's been changed. I mean, that's been changed how many times since the 70s? You know?
Yeah, they're changing though the DEI stuff into like cultural support or that kind of stuff. So that's the stuff we have to watch out for, in not just the government to do that.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
In our schools, if you have kids in school, if you have people in these industries that are highly impacted, whether it's the airline industry, hospitals, the medical field, if there are globalists, they're going to start talking about things and using different terms for these things.
Yep.
I think we need to stay vigilant. We need to expose those when we find them. This, I don't know, Carrie and I don't know if Moxie was on there too, but when Carrie and Moxie and I did the show together, one of the shows we did was on how they redefine or change the names of things, or take new words and redefine them. That's what we need to watch out for. I've got more on the rebranding. This is just real quick, the large image of that's highlighted, that the wellness program, the diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility program was all going under this OPOD.
Yes. Yep.
Yep.
Well, since everybody's used the term, I mean, I'm just sitting here thinking everybody's used the term global and globalists. I'm sure that they will come out with, healers of the world. I mean, it's going to be something that sounds so fantastic, and everybody can participate. It doesn't matter how you feel about anything else. It's again, all inclusive.
Yep.
Yeah, you know what I mean? When you see those warm fuzzies coming out, make sure they're not fake, phony, and false, because we can easily be lied to, and it's easy to take a lie when it's,
For sure. This is the Project Veritas video. I was finding it while you were chatting.
The last time, because I was already working for the government when Trump was president last time, they canceled DEI.
He's from the State Department.
Yes.
Not Space Force.
I see that.
People just did it. They can't when they like canceled DEI stuff in Trump's first term, but people just did it and called it something else. So they did it anyway. I hope this Anthony Abate is from the State Department is now fired. So y'all need to reach out to Marco Rubio and highlight the heck out of this guy.
Yeah.
Oh, you missed the Carrie, Moxie, and Nev show. Aw. Yeah, we all kind of had different things to do. I miss it too, to be honest. I do. I miss it too.
Sounds like a fun time.
Okay, so let's move on to what's being done now. Before we get to the wins, I just want to quick cover how the courts are blocking Trump in his decisions. This one is from you. So do you want to talk about this one, Missy?
Well, actually, I'm having a hard time reading it just because my eyes are bad.
Oh, here, I'll make it bigger. This is that link. Bookmark.
Oh, yeah. It's, it's just getting to the point where like everybody keeps saying, these judges just think that they can rule the roost over what a president has written out to do and to literally be done and followed. It's like that question right there. What is happening to our republic? It's constant with him.
Well, in this case, they are blocking Trump from removing transgender troops from the military after they are medically disqualified. So if they're medically disqualified, there's no judge that should have any say in that.
Well, not only that, what they're going to do, I'll tell you this, just because I know military, what they will do is they will, even though they're medically disqualified, these are people that are already in the military, okay? These aren't people that are coming in and they're not making, it's already done. But medically disqualified, that would be including these people that have transitioned, like the person that I told you about earlier. But what they will do is what they're going to want to do with them is they're going to want to take them off of ships, if they're in the Navy, out of the Marine Corps, out of the Army, being deployable, and they will put them at desks, and they will have them doing desk jobs instead of what they were doing before.
And they did that with some other employees. They are paying them, but they're on paid leave.
Right.
So
exactly.
Same thing.
So
there's another judge that blocked the CIA and the office, the DNI, from firing employees who worked on DEI initiatives. So it's another. Not only are they doing it with the immigrants, like these judges trying to prevent the border control from doing their job, they're doing it with DEI too.
Well, and Stephen Miller, the dude just rocks like nobody's business. I'm glad
he's awesome.
Oh my gosh, I love that guy.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, he said it. He's like, how in what world, if you are a business owner and you hire somebody and they are not qualified to do the job that you hired them to do, you give them a trial time, they don't work out, who in their right mind is going to tell you you can't fire them? Mm-hmm. And this is exactly what's going on with Trump. And again, it actually has absolutely nothing to do with DEI this or DEI that. This has to do with crippling his second term.
Yeah.
That's all this is.
Yep. But I wanted to show like what's happening now. So what's happening now is there's a big attempt to prevent Trump's agenda, including this DEI stuff, from being successful.
Yes. Well, what I was going to say, his point was on one of his little spots there. I think he was talking with Jesse last night, and he's just like, there's only so much that these judges that they're going to be allowed to do when it comes to the DEI. There is no, if they're unfit, they're unfit. There is no place for them to step in and for Trump to have to listen to their
But they're
nonsense.
doing it anyway. Yeah, but he's ignoring some of their.
I hope so. He was talking about the safety of America and the safety
Yeah,
of,
yeah.
you know,
The Supreme Court needs to the Supreme Court just needs to squash this stuff. They just need to get involved and say what's constitutional, what's not. Like the separation of powers here is unbelievable. Honestly, I don't even know, like the Supreme Court.
Quite questionable.
Who polices the separation of powers between the Justice Department and the executive branch?
Well, the Speaker
Or
of the House can actually call Congress.
judicial branch, not Justice Department.
Right, the judicial branch. But I mean, the Speaker of the House can call Congress to do a vote of if those judges are not following the promises that they made under their oath that they took, they can actually defund the Supreme Court. And
They could defund, the Senate can try to impeach, but it takes so many votes, but it would expose. It would expose
he was talking
it.
about we don't have time for impeachment. There's no power for impeachment with the people that are in Congress, but they do hold the
Yeah,
purse
they don't have
strings.
enough votes.
Right, but they do hold the purse strings, and the purse strings could actually be tightened around the ability for the Supreme Court, because they are not holding up to their, ironically, what they were hired to do.
Yeah.
know?
Well, let's move on because we've got more to get through and we're running behind on time. Sorry to interrupt you. I don't mean to be rude.
Oh, no, I'm done.
Okay. This Harvard Business Review, this is interesting. This is a leftist write-up. And they are admitting that DEI fails. And they're like, what comes next? So they're giving us insight into what they're planning.
Yep.
And so I want to cover this really quick because I think this part is super important.
Sure.
They said they can't continue with the status quo and they have to rebrand the language as needed, just like I was talking about. You know what? The left always thinks the problem has to do with messaging or words. They never think the problem is literally related to the principles and the ideals they're trying to push forward.
Yeah, they think it's the advertising of the message and not the message itself.
Yeah. So basically, they talked about continuing with the status quo, rebrand the language as needed, and adhere to existing initiatives and programs. So in other words, you have to adhere to what Trump wants until forced to do otherwise, but keep the status quo. So change the language, keep doing what you're doing unless you're told to stop, basically. Not only that, they're trying to reimagine DEI, and now they're coming up with a new acronym. At least this person is.
Right.
These think tanks and people from the universities are the ones who actually get the narratives out. They come up with the ideas of what they should call things. So I wouldn't be surprised if we hear more of this in the future. They want to call it FAIR, F-A-I-R. Of course, they have to have an acronym where they put little words. They always do that. It's kind of annoying.
Yep.
So they said they have a once in a generation opportunity to reimagine this work, adapt a new socio-political climate. So they want to be able to adapt in this new climate that they're in and refocus our efforts on what works. Well, they think everything works, which is funny if you read this whole article.
It almost sounds like it's Disney related. She could go work for Disney and be what is that, Imaginarium?
DEI needs a reset.
No,
we don't need a reset. We need it to die.
It needs a flame.
It doesn't need a flame. We don't want a flame either. We just want it squashed. We need to put water and sand on it.
That's what I'm saying. Burn it to nothing.
So here's what she's calling the FAIR framework. You want to know what that means? It means everything DEI is, only using different words. Seriously. So she talks about reimagining the work. She talks about how the way they did it didn't work, and they got a lot of backlash, and they need to do it in a way that everyone can embrace. So you're right about how they come up with those pleasant words to make you like it.
Oh,
That's what they're going to do, just like what you said.
Yeah.
Because
they've done it how many times already, you know?
Yeah.
It's just over and over. You know what, that FAIR, where it said FAIR, it actually had the four words.
Oh, fairness, access, inclusion, and representation. Exactly. I should have called that out. Thanks for noticing that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Anyway, so they talk about reimagining, creating an impact at scale through personnel policies, hiring, and promotion. That's what they're doing today.
Yeah.
They want to have leadership incentives and organizational culture and norms. So they want to put everything into the culture of the companies as this is normal.
Yeah.
Don't call it weird. Don't say it's something that shouldn't be done. It's normal.
Well, there's your leadership incentives too, just like that man from Google was saying earlier. Let's just give them a bunch of fluffy gifts and make them feel like it is we want them to be. And either they'll you know
what they consider leadership incentives though? Strong arm.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's incentive for them.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And then she mentions here, or this is a quote of someone I guess she was interviewing. I've been encouraged by data that shows if you design for better processes, you don't always need to first get everyone on board. So not everybody needs to be on board, you know.
Later.
They need to design for a more equitable hiring process.
Boy.
And if people are resistant to the word equitable, it shouldn't stop leaders from designing for better hiring outcomes using the same principles. So just change the word.
Right.
Keep the same principles.
Right.
She called it a slow-moving revolution. I mean,
I don't know about that.
They think they're in a revolution, and actually it does feel like it, but it's a non-kinetic type of thing happening.
It's a revolution for so few. It's not like, you're fighting against a war.
Less than 1% of the population, right?
Right. And this is what blows my mind, is how far it is leaked and leached into every aspect of daily life.
Yeah, and here she talks about they want to keep it going. They just need to do it differently, but do the same things. If we want to survive, it has to adapt. If they want to survive, DEI work must evolve.
Oh, wow.
So there's more, but I'm going to move on because let's talk about some of the wins, shall we?
Absolutely.
All right. I had to cover the negative stuff of what's happening now first.
Always end with the good, right?
Huh?
Always end with the good, right?
End with the good.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I mean, we were talking about Boeing. Should we start with them?
There we go.
They dismantled their DEI department. Whoop, whoop.
Yep.
They did it before the election. They knew what was coming. I mean, they just had that NASA report a couple of months prior.
Mm-hmm.
They really needed to do this. And actually, since this, they won the big contract that Trump was talking about.
Yes.
So,
yes.
So that's a good sign. And it's something that maybe could comfort us a little bit.
Well, weren't they part of the big NAFTA move anyway? So they're kind of more or less bringing
NAFTA?
when everything got sent off out into the world and out of America, that was not NAFTA. What was the one? North American.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Foreign trade, whatever it was, that got all of our corporations to move their businesses elsewhere because it was too expensive to do any work here. That's when all of the the car businesses, all these places moved to different parts of the world, and a lot of them are coming back again because of tariffs, because of the DEI dismantling. I mean, there's so much.
Yeah.
There's so much good. There's so much winning.
So much good. Also, which one should I start with? BlackRock and Bank of America are dropping their DEI policies. What's really interesting with BlackRock is Larry Fink put out his 2025. I don't know if this one is the 2025 one. Yeah. His letter to investors for this time around didn't even mention DEI. Didn't even mention ESG. And if you recall, I don't know if it was last year or the year before, he announced he was ditching ESG too. Do you guys remember that? So I don't know what's going on there. And Trump brought him up recently. What was that?
So
I don't know what's going on there. I've always not trusted BlackRock. I'm against them.
Either.
I hate that they're buying up land.
Me either.
You know?
Yeah. On that note, I don't have it. I mean, I have it on my phone here, but I was telling you about Walmart and DEI.
Yeah.
And how, and it was January 16. Walmart is facing backlash from investors after cutting DEI programs.
Woohoo! That's awesome.
Yep.
I like it. I'm digging it.
Yep. They're another one on the list.
Yeah. This is.
I wonder if Target will ever come around.
Yeah, they said for 2025, ESG, sustainability, climate change, and DEI were all notably absent from BlackRock's report.
I'm such not a fan of theirs. I'm glad, I guess, but I don't like their business. I don't like their business anyway,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what's going on because it feels like things changed. Carrie, okie dokie then, what do we think DEI actually specifically is? That's not Carrie. That's Crimson King. Diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Right. Right. It is what it is.
If you're thinking what is the agenda behind it, is it diversity, equity, inclusion? I would say no.
I'd say division should be the letter D if we're going to go with the acronym. Exclusion and insanity.
I do feel like it's part of the bigger agenda. If you look up from the 40,000, 100,000 foot view, it's a part of a bigger agenda, and it's one way of hitting society.
Sure.
Dividing society in order to there's so many agendas with that one. That's another show. Crimson King, that's going to be another show.
Yeah.
That's
totally. You were talking about Obama kind of being the big kahuna there, getting things rolling, and that's when that CRT came out too. And
it's related. CRT is related. It started decades ago, but to be honest, the exponential growth of it started under Obama.
Absolutely. And that CRT started, I don't know that many people, is that the same acronym that was used for schools and put into schools and all that?
Yep.
K through 12.
Yes.
So CRT started.
It's
at
critical
military-
race theory.
Yes, critical race theory. CRT started with the military. That's where they started it, and they pushed it out to the public after they put it through military schools, on bases and things like that. It was exclusively on military bases, and then they eked it out slowly into the arena of public schools. So very, very interesting on that one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's another show as well. So I'm going to move on.
Oh yeah, no, I'm just.
It's interesting though. It's interesting.
It's a launching pad.
I think that's all I had highlighted on there. Okay. Also, there has been a military purge. And I have to tell you that people are very scared because the Trump administration purged that JAG officer that I was just talking about with Libs of TikTok, that guy. He was one of the guys that were fired. This is military.com, guys. This is a puff piece, propaganda piece.
Absolutely.
From military.com.
100%.
Which I was surprised it was military.com, though. I didn't know that they.
There's another publication called Stars and Stripes. It's a military magazine that went, as soon as we got a hold of the internet, went into the internet, cavity, and that is something that it used to be something that was read by military personnel to see the good, and to the righteous side of it, but it has gone woke as woke could be.
But Pete Hegseth is purging
yes,
the military, which is good. Actually, all the departments are, which I think is awesome, including we have a fight in NIH.
Oh, boy.
The anti-DEI fight is just beginning.
Yes.
So I do have, well, I guess I need to refresh so I can see my highlights. Sorry, guys. I don't mean to hop around, but it's like, it looks so plain Jane when you can't see the whole web page, which I actually like. It's the Brave browser. You can have the reading mode, and you don't have all the ads and.
Right.
But I sometimes have to take that off so I can see if I'm missing anything else, because sometimes there's photos or videos or that kind of. Anyway, so private and public entities are calibrating their language to preserve as much of the pre-Trump status quo as possible. Changing their language again. This is what's also happening. But NIH is also cutting some of the DEI stuff. They're going to fight back. There are bureaucrats that are lifelong career people in all of these departments that are going to be like, sure, we'll do that. Wink, wink.
Yep.
And have their fingers crossed behind their back, and they're going to keep it going. So I hope these agency heads really crack it down.
Yeah.
Oh, Carrie, we went way too long. Thank you. Good night, friend.
Hi, Carrie. Happy birthday.
Happy belated birthday. Okay. Couple more things with Trump and then a couple memes, and we can call it a night. I'll do my announcement separate tomorrow with a 30-second video.
There you go.
We're just getting way too late here. Trump's America First priorities. So they put out this fact sheet that he ended the DEI madness and restores excellence and safety within the FAA. So this is the federal air. What is it? FAA? Aviation Administration.
There it is, aviation.
It's right in front of our face. Yeah.
Yes.
Anyway, so I remember when this came out, I was super excited. One of the first executive orders, DEI, was right away.
Yes.
And they directed all federal DEI staff be put on leave.
Yep.
And that's what the judges are trying to stop. But this was, when was this? I love that they're tackling this. Was January 22nd as well. Then Trump, he did a Truth Social post and said Apple should get rid of DEI rules, not just make adjustments to them. He's just calling out Apple.
Yep.
DEI was a hoax that has been very bad for our country. DEI is gone, he said. So Trump wants us to believe it's dead, but
Well, I think just when he says stuff like that, he wants us to believe what he's doing.
yeah, and I do. I have full faith.
Yes, exactly. Have faith in what we do. It's just like today, you know. Somebody said surgery's done. We've pulled out the cancer.
Oh yeah, his comment on that surgery was pretty interesting, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The markets are going to boom. Where was that comment about the surgery? Maybe he posted
this morning, but it may have been like midnight morning because that's what time he gets up.
I know.
He even beats Carrie. Wake up call.
He once said, okay, I guess I won't scroll through all the. He once said that he gets like 4 hours of sleep.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And his body's used to it because he's done it forever. So
yeah, for sure.
God bless him.
We also have a lot of companies pulling back their DEI initiatives, which is super exciting. They named some of them here: Uber, Salesforce, Pepsi.
Good. That was a mess.
Yep. Goldman Sachs, Google, of all things, after this guy got fired and all of that.
Yeah.
Google is pulling back. Target.
What's this Target part? I just asked about Target. I'm kind of shocked.
I'm shocked that they're pulling back their DEI stuff too. Because they've been on my radar and I have been boycotting them for so long for everything they do.
my monies have been, and it's frustrating because there are, and they not only that, but they went so into another story for another day, but they just went so into China for their goods and stuff that they were selling at their store. It just got bad.
Yeah. Meta platforms, Amazon, McDonald's, Walmart is the one you brought up. Yep.
There it is. Yep.
Ford. I didn't even know Ford went woke or DEI.
No.
Lowe's, Harley Davidson.
That was a shocker when I first read that one.
Harley
Davidson even went woke at all. That was just
yeah. I was
weird.
Shocked. Well, I was shocked with Budweiser, to be honest with you.
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't know. But yeah, Harley Davidson.
I was. John Deere, I didn't even know they went woke. That's shocker. Tractor
They're big
Supply.
out here. They're big out here.
Yeah. So those are some of them plus PBS. I don't remember who posted this earlier.
But again, they're all saying they're getting rid of it. But how
But
many
are they?
Exactly. I don't think so.
So they might close their DEI office, but are they really? Like, are they calling it something else?
They're calling it fair.
They're calling it fair.
Yeah.
Well, should we have a little laugh before we close out the show?
Absolutely. Best way to end the night is with a laugh.
DEI, deporting every illegal.
Exactly. Exactly.
And what about this poor guy that was laid off and he posted on X and everybody made fun of him?
Oh, gosh.
He did an update after he was all excited to get hired as a DEI lead at the CIA.
Yes, of all places.
He did an update. He's laid off.
Yeah, good. Find a real job.
They're deliberately using DEI to disguise sabotage as incompetence. You know that, right?
Absolutely.
This was on our previous Meme Wars show from Little Wolf.
Her pinky isn't up yet.
Oh, her pinky needs to be up.
Yep. It does.
I don't know what this one is. Oh, your replacement.
There we go. That's awesome.
That's not even an exaggeration either.
No, that's why it's so awesome. That is horribly awesome. Wow.
All right, last one here. DEI. Donald ended it.
Donald
and that's a good one to end on, actually.
That is perfect. That's brilliant. That is brilliant.
So is DEI dead? No. Do we need to figure out what it's morphing into? Yes. Do we need to stay vigilant? Yes. And just like we always do, expose it as we find it. But I'm super happy of all the progress that's been made in just 2 months.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Trump's been in office 2 months, 2 months plus what? A week and a half, 2.5 months?
Yep.
Hasn't even been the first 100 days yet.
It's amazing.
So,
and Liberation Day was just yesterday.
What's that?
And Liberation Day was just yesterday.
Oh, yeah. The tariff, somebody asked, well, it's not really Liberation Day if we still have to pay taxes. I'm like, come on. Like, you got to give them time. So, so Trump always talked about McKinney and how much he made America the richest during his time. And it was all because he did tariffs.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to take some time. So now Trump is starting tariffs. He really wants foreign countries to pay for the stuff they bring in. They're charging us. Why not?
You know, somebody was making a comment today on their radio show, and they said, you know, corporate Trump is the best Trump. And I agree. Because, I mean, how many people said it would be stupid to have a businessman as a president? I think it's one of the most brilliant things that America could have ever done for herself.
If that businessman is, as a part of his business, highly involved in all decisions. Sure. If it's just somebody that sits back and collects money.
Well, no. Yeah. No, the integrity has to be there for sure.
Well, just the work, the putting in the work for the business. Mm-hmm. So I agree. I think it's.
Well, he's the best example of a businessman at this point that a lot of people have emulated, including Hollywood and politicians, all the world.
Look at Elon Musk.
Yes.
Him too. Exactly. Same thing.
Exactly. Yeah.
Although he can never be president, but.
Right. Imperfect men doing good things on behalf of a nation they love.
Yes, exactly.
Good thing.
Well, I think that's a good ending for that. Thank you so much for joining, Missy. Thank you, everybody. Please give a like and a thumbs up, or depending on the platform you're on, it's either a like or a thumbs up or a heart on X. It will help make the show just get exposed to more people. So it'd be super helpful.
Share it too.
Oh, you can share it too. That's right. All right. Well, thanks again, Missy. I really enjoyed having you on co-hosting with me tonight.
Thank you so much. It was a privilege and a pleasure.
Yeah. Okay. Have a good night, friends.
Good night.
Bye.
I can see clearly.